Everybody, guess what? I am so excited this morning to share with you a very special guest, Figgy. If you've watched the Netflix series Squid Games: The Challenge, Figgy is from Nashville. She was on there, and I was so excited to have a local person to root for. How's it going this morning?
It's going great. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you were able to root for me, Donna, and hopefully more people that are local. It's going great this morning. It's actually my birthday this morning, so I'm having a great
Oh,
day. Now I get to
happy
talk with you.
birthday. I did not know
Thank
that when
you.
you told me about that. Well, it's a double whammy today.
I know it's great. We're doing it all. We're doing it all.
Hey, so tell me about I had no idea when it came out, this new series, that there were contestants from all over the country, well, all over the world, really. So tell me, how did you find out about this?
Yeah, so I watched the series and I fell in love with it. It just has really strong character development. And it's captivating, and when I heard that it was getting turned into a series, I had competed on Survivor in 2016. I'm very, very competitive, and I was like, "This is a really big deal." It's $4.56 million. It'd be the biggest
Yeah,
game show ever on reality TV. I was like, "This
yeah,
is something that's up my alley." But time went on, and I had heard about it, but then again, time kept passing and passing, but there wasn't any applications out yet. And then my fiance's coworker had sent something over to me on my phone and was like, "Hey, you should apply for this." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so glad she sent this over because I completely forgot." And they had just opened up the application. So I didn't think twice about it. I had asked my fiance, I was like, "Hey, should I apply for this?" And I'm very impatient. So if you don't respond within like 60 seconds, I'm going to do it. And I absolutely was like, you know what? It's been 2 minutes. I'm going to record a quick 60-second video. And I submitted it and honestly didn't think twice about it because I was just like, there's going to be so many applicants. Like, who knows if they're going to even see this video? And sure enough, they did.
wow, wow. So what was the process to did you have to audition this for the show? What was that process like? You submitted your video, and then tell us what happened after that.
Yeah. So you submit your video, and it's like a 60-second, like quick all about me, as much as you can squeeze in a minute, which is really hard to do.
Yeah,
And you send that over and you just wait. So it's just a complete waiting game. And that's just how it is for any television show that you apply for. It's not like you can send a text and say, "Hi, wondering if you got my application." You just have to
right.
sit there and wait until they reach out to you. So I think it was like at minimum a month. I think it was like 2, 3 months even. And
Mm.
then I finally got an email and it was like, "Hey, we're from casting." And I was like, "What?" And then I had a quick Zoom call interview with them. And it's a lot of like mini interview processes with casting and then a lot of paperwork. And you're just kind of hanging on to hope throughout those processes because anything can happen. You know, something could happen where production has to shut down or postpone in any TV series. So it's just
Right.
like until I'm the type of person, and I learned this from Survivor, until I'm given my flight information and I'm on my plane boarding to get to where I need to go to film, I know anything can happen. So it was quite a process. And leading up to when I got my flight, I think it was like I got my flight information 4 or 5 days in advance because again, they're reaching out to 456 people. This is a
Yeah,
big deal.
that's a
So,
lot of
you
people.
know, yeah, and to fly, like you said, globally, from
Mhm.
all over the world to film, it's such a task. So kudos to them for um, being able to get all that figured out. I could never, but I know they have an amazing team. So it's definitely a process, but it's very rewarding to say the least.
Yeah. So, yes, it starts out with 456 people, which the prize money is $4.56 million. So you think that's a coincidence they did that?
Right? I think it's so brilliant. Each person's worth, I think it was $10,000.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how much
Yeah.
we're worth.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because there's so many, I know we're going to get into the show and different things, but you get so many different personalities when you are creating a cast this big. So some
Yeah.
people, it's like, wow, there's the money. And then some people are like, well, that's one more person out of my way. And it's like, oh my gosh, like we're really the gloves are off, everybody. So it's just interesting to, see the different reactions to like, we're worth $10,000 when we're in this game. And then when we leave, are you sad that your friend left? Or are you happy that there's $10,000 in the pot added? So it's very
Yeah.
interesting, very, very funny.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the actual game a little bit. Where was this filmed?
It was
Did
filmed
they
in
let you?
London.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The set was so amazing. It was so close to the series. Well, the first one that came out, I wasn't expecting that in some ways, but then it kind of made sense, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think they wanted to, and they did it beautifully, create an immersive experience where we were truly in the games, and it wasn't, they of course threw in twists and turns to kind of throw us off, and so that way it was like, no, it's not going to be exactly the same. But I mean, from the dorms to the stairwells to the sets where we actually competed in the games, I mean, so much money went into this production, and they just executed this just to perfection, where I really felt like I was like in there with these characters. I was just waiting for, one of the actors to pop up out of somewhere and be like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you're here too, that makes sense. Even down to the guards
Yes,
in their suits.
I know.
I mean, it was crazy. It was all very identical, but it was just such a crazy cool experience.
Well, tell me about your strategy going into it because as you watch it, I'm just sitting at home watching this. So you're like, people kept like kind of building like little alliances, or they
Yeah.
would, some people just try to be like the little loner and like, just lay low and kind of what was your strategy going into this?
Yeah, so strategy with this, I think there is strategy involved. And it's so funny because some players, I've heard them in interviews say, like, it's mainly luck. And I'm like, and then I hear my friends who are like, no, it's like 50% luck and then 50% strategy. Going in, I had that experience from Survivor, but Survivor is completely different. You build your alliances and then you're voting people out constantly. Whereas here it's
Right.
you're competing in games to stay alive to get to the next phase of the game. And then those friendships and bonds and relationships you build really carry you to the finish line because you're stripped away from everything you know. We're not talking to our families, we're not talking to our friends. I mean, I love my dog, so I'm not, petting my dog and getting love from him. So you're
Yeah.
stripped from everything. So those relationships are so important because they keep you sane, in the
Mm,
game, to be able to have conversation with people, to connect deeply, and then also to talk strategy. The around the dorms, they have the clues of what games you can expect to play, similar to the series. And there were some on the wall where we're like, this is new. We don't know what this is. So you and your friends and alliance members are, going around the dorms trying to like piece things together. Or, you and your alliance members might break out and go infiltrate other conversations to hear what's being talked about. But also, again, like, you go in with strategy, and some people were like, they were like the Bros Alliance, where they're like, we're really strong, let's get all the guys together.
yeah.
Or maybe they didn't mean to, but it just happened. But I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people do go in with these strategies, but for me, I felt that it was important, one, to be open to work with anybody. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you're from. I don't care your walk of life. I think everybody has their own strength to bring to the table. And whether that be that you are 70 years old and you have the wisdom of life in general that you're bringing, maybe you're not as strong, or maybe you're a 70-year-old who was a collegiate athlete who is actually really strong and people underestimate you. I worked with so many different people, and it was because I put the relationships first and I wanted to learn about each individual. And I think that helped build trust within each other. And the people that I connected with. And then also, it was great because we did talk about Survivor, and people knew I was a strategist, and they knew that I was constantly thinking game. I was just game, 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 still getting to know people, but I was always thinking about what's next. What can we expect? Will there be a twist? What are they talking about over there? What are they doing over there? I was
Yeah.
constantly just eyes, I was a hawk in the dorm, is what I like to say. I took the tallest bunk because I always wanted to see what was going on. That was
Oh,
just kind of,
see, I didn't even think
yeah,
about that.
yeah. And I'm afraid of heights, but I decided to do it anyways. And it was really high up. Like, it was so high up.
It
I
looked
was
really
scared. I
high
was
up.
like, it was so scary, but I did it. I was like, I got to be at the top. I have to be up there. I have to be hawk vision. So that was a lot of my strategy was just relationship based and building trust within those friendships I created was really important for me.
Yeah. Tell me about some of the challenges. Um, of course, the first one, red light, green light. I mean, I was nervous for a lot of people. I mean, we start off the game. I mean, that sounds so simple, but it was nerve-wracking to watch.
Oh yeah. So red light, green light was, in my opinion, I mean, obviously, I played so many games up to being eliminated, but I would say that was the hardest one, the most demanding of your endurance because in the series and in when you watch it looks like a 5-minute game, but in order to really call the game fair, you have to look at 456 people. That's a lot of people. You got to make sure
Mhm.
they're not moving. So the holds were for a minimum of 15 minutes and they could exceed, what felt like often 40 minutes. I played red light, green light for around 7 hours. And it was
Wow.
something, yeah, I was in the last group. So you don't really see me in red light, green light, which is fine because I was actually grateful because I was like, my facial expressions are probably really terrible during red light, green light. So it's a blessing that I was not shown. But it was really hard. It was cold. I think often people saw that in the news as well about production. It was a very cold atmosphere. But having come from Survivor, I knew that this was not going to be a cakewalk. They're not going to just if they made it easy, if it was that easy, all 456 people would make it to the end. So they have to
Right.
make it challenging. They have to it's a risk and reward situation. You have to fight for it if you really want it. And it required you to really fight. And I was super proud of myself getting across the finish line. I may have said this already, but I was in that last group, the last 5 seconds. I crossed with Leanne, I crossed with TJ, and a handful of other people, a lot of big characters. And I think that's just a testament to how difficult red light, green light truly was. I mean, TJ played in the, I can't remember if he played in the NBA, but I know that he was like on the Harlem Wizards and like he's an athlete. He's an
Yeah.
athlete. And he was in
Yeah.
the last group. So that just shows you right there and he crossed with Leanne and he crossed with me, how difficult red light, green light was. But we all felt really proud of the way that we performed. We earned it. It was very sad to see a lot of friends that you make before the show, like, leading up when you're really excited standing next to someone, like them drop right next to you is really
Oh,
sad. It was heartbreaking. But you fight to get across that line and it was very rewarding and something that we could all be proud of to cross that finish line.
yeah. Tell me about some of the other challenges. What else did you find that was hard? Was it the cookie or,
Yeah.
I'm trying to what else that you played
Yeah.
that you
Yeah. So
that was
I played Cookie and I did Worship. So for Cookie, Dalgana, I originally was going to go to line 4, which was the
mm,
umbrella line.
mm.
Because in our minds when we went in, it was just 1, 2, 3, 4 in the series. It actually has the shapes on the doors. But we were like, there's no way that it's going to be the exact same as the series. There's no way they're going to do that. So we all start to think to go to line 4. But then luckily, one of my friends, 269, his name is James. He lived in South Korea for a very long time. And he pulled a couple of us aside into a group and said, 4 in Korea is considered to be unlucky. Do not go in line 4.
Oh,
Again, relationships. Thank you, James.
yeah.
A group of us then left line 4 and we decided just as a collective we were going to go to line 1 and I'm so glad we did because that was circle. A lot of people practiced before going. You can like order the cookies, I think maybe on Etsy or from different people, or you could try to make them. I tried to make them. I almost burnt my house down. So I gave up. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to make these. It's really, really hard. I mean, I thought I was getting close. And then once you put the ingredients in your pan in the kitchen, it cooks in like 10 seconds. So if you don't do it right within that time frame, it's burnt, it's awful. So
Oh, wow.
I never got to practice. And I really wanted to, but I didn't, and so many people did, and I was like, "Wow, you know what? I'm happy I made it here, and I'm so grateful that I got circle, um, but I'm gonna do my best, and we'll see if I get through." And the people we sat with were all people in, my alliance, and we all had a strategy. It was 10 minutes on the clock. We were going to lick our cookie for 5 minutes, and then we'd start taking our needle at the 5-minute mark left, and we would start scraping. And only 4 out of, I think it was 48 people in the circles, only 4 people didn't make it through. So collectively as a whole, we had the highest success rate. I cried when I was done because my emotions just came over me. I mean, again, I didn't practice, so I didn't expect to necessarily make it through. But
Mm.
when I got the circle out, I just lost it and started crying because I had a minute and 15 seconds left on the clock. And I was like, I did it. I'm going to keep going through. And then obviously, Warships is the next game, which I'm not a fan of. You know, that's modern day Battleship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Battleship is a game of luck. And I don't like that. And when
Yeah,
you know, was
I could
playing,
tell. I felt bad for all the people who got eliminated in that game because it was so you didn't get to pick necessarily where you were standing in the ships. I
no.
felt bad for that one.
Yeah, and that was really hard because sure I could have like stood up and been a captain, but still there's the risk of losing as a captain.
Yeah.
And then if your team loses, you still are eliminated. So I definitely, I guess, you know, looking back, I I didn't play a lot of Battleship growing up, but still, like we just talked about, it's such a game of luck that even if I was in control, it's all about just picking and thinking where might the other person put their boats. And I didn't know those captains on the other team well enough to think, okay, one, I didn't know who the captains were. And then
Yeah.
two, like, I don't know them that well to know, okay, where might Joel and Dan place their ships? Like, I just don't know that, you know? So it's total luck. Um, and I didn't want to be in the big boat walking in. I said that. I was like, in my head, in my gut, I was like, I don't want to be in the big boat. But I was with all my friends and I was like, it just something came over me. I was like, you know what? If it's meant to be, I will make it through this. And I just had a lot of gratitude for the opportunity. And I was just happy to be there. And it was just an incredible experience. And then I got put in the big boat, of course,
Oh,
the one I didn't want to get in. And then, you know, my boat sank. But at the end of the day, I look back at that and I'm like, yeah, I probably could have vocalized that I didn't want to get in the big boat, but I just went with the flow because I loved my team and we were all like in the same headspace. Like, we're going with the flow. This is total
yeah.
luck and it is what it is. It's out of our control. So that's kind of the way we had to look at it. So yeah, sadly,
Yeah,
tears.
that game especially, man, that was hard. So tell me afterwards, did you have to stay like Survivor? Did you have to stay until all the games were done, or did you get to come home and watch the rest of the series?
Yeah, so it's unlike Survivor, they do send you back, and, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because it's so many people that they'd have to put up in
Yeah,
hotels, and that'd be extra cost, and they can kind of get away, for sure, with sending people back, home because there's just so many people, we just would blend in with the rest of us. Now, on Survivor, we all look like we've been starving, we're all super tan, we're coming back from an island probably somewhere, so it's like, and that's Jeff Probst right there. So it's
yeah,
very, very obvious,
yeah,
you know, that we're coming back from competing on Survivor. But I did change my flight. I had never been to London before, and I'm a teacher. So I was like, I'm going to change my flight and just spend, you know, the extra 2 days of this weekend here before going back to work. Um, and I'm really grateful that I did because I got to spend, you know, an extra 2 days with some of the um, people. I almost called them castaways, not Survivor. My peers, they're not castaways. They felt like castaways, but the other players that were eliminated in Battleship, it was a
yeah,
really big crew of people that got out in battleships and a lot of like big characters that got out in battleships. So, you
yeah.
know, we had a good time celebrating the achievements that we had. It was very positive experience afterwards. And I really enjoyed traveling in London because, like I said, like I'd never been and it was beautiful. It was cold because it was, you know, in the January, beginning of February, but I mean, just such an experience.
Yeah. So tell me about now that the show has wrapped. I saw it looks like you've been doing some press and you guys you've been together. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so grateful that the Netflix team invited me to the finale party that they had hosted in New York last Wednesday, where a couple of us, and it was, again, 456 people. They can't invite everybody, unfortunately. That would be epic, but it's just not doable. So there was about 20 of us total there, or maybe a little less than that. And, we got to see each other, and I hadn't seen Leanne or Trey or Dash or Mai. I was close with Mai.
Okay.
And Sam, Phil, and that's the thing too. It's like, I think the audience really saw me, mainly with Trey and Leanne, and they were definitely like my top three. Like we were, our own little alliance. I love them so much. They're like family. So I hadn't seen them, and it was just such a joyous reunion. It was great to see Mai was in an alliance with me that someone called the Snack Pack. So you had like Figgy, obviously like Fig Newtons, and then you had Mai Tai, and then there was Brownie, and then there was a guy named Cookie. So they called us the Snack Pack, which was funny. And then Dash, player 141. I hadn't seen him in a long time. We all talk, but to be able to be reunited and to hug each other after that crazy experience and just to celebrate the
Yeah.
finale was just such an incredible opportunity. And as you mentioned, like getting to do press has been great because I think it's just such it's the biggest reality show,
Yes,
and
for sure.
like they deserve so much praise for being able to successfully do this, and they're going to do a season two, which is crazy. I'm ready for round two. So, and I already told them that I was like, if you have a round two and you need you need more people, you can ask me to come back, but just don't have any boats this time, and I'm there.
You're like, I'm
I was
get in
like,
the boat.
no boats, no boats, no more boats. I know how to swim, but no more boats. But it was just so great to see everybody and just to celebrate just such um, an epic opportunity and the success that the production has had with it. It's just been incredible.
Yeah, it's an incredible show. Well, before we go, you mentioned I forgot that you had an alliance with Mai. Did you expect her to win? I mean,
You
I
know,
feel like I know when it really kind of expected her to win. I was kind of surprised. I got to be honest.
yeah. So I kind of think of her as like a phoenix rising from the ashes. So she wasn't very, and a lot of the final three, you didn't really see a lot of their story in the first batch of episodes. You maybe saw them in the background. They maybe had a couple confessionals, but you didn't really hear their stories until that second batch.
Yeah.
My was tough. My is such a strong woman, and, I got to know her very well in the game through our alliance and our friendship. And when I first saw her in New York, and I didn't know that she won, they did a great job. The final three, super hush hush. Like,
Really?
I'm honestly blown away that it was not spoiled. They took their NDAs very seriously, whereas some shows, and even sometimes, like, you'll have like squeaky wheels within production where like they might go somewhere and spoil it for money or whatever reasons. And it's really sad. But this time around, it was so beautiful that no one in the world knew who won. And when I first saw Mai in New York, she said, I gave her a hug and she goes, I go, I'm so proud of you. She goes, did you think I was going to get to the finals? Did you think that like I'd get to the final three? What did you think? Were you surprised? And I was like, I was not surprised at all because you're so tough and you're so strong. And, I knew that knowing you in the game. I didn't know, I wasn't able to learn her full story about being a refugee and, having a child at 19 and going through everything she went through with her family and just knowing like that walk of life and who she is today, the role model she is. And at her age, I believe she's 55, just getting it done. Truly exemplifying that there's nothing that anyone can't do. I mean, even Leanne is older, right? And like she was crushing it. Dr. Rick on there, so many amazing people just proving that age is not a factor in a game like this. If you want to do something in life, go do it. I wasn't surprised that my won. I know from an audience standpoint, I think like Like, it's like, wow, she did that. And like, it's like really cool to see. Um, but she was just so smart. I mean, you even saw it at the end, where she's like, I know the statistics of rock, paper, scissors, and all these things. Like, it's just
Yeah,
mind blowing. She's so intelligent, so strong. And the kids would say this, the word iconic is always used. Like, Maya's iconic. She is a
ah,
queen, as the kids would say. She really is. So I'm just so proud of her, truly.
yeah, well, it was, very exciting to watch. Hopefully, if there is a season 2, has there been talk yet? Is there definitely a
Oh,
season 2?
yeah. Oh yeah, they opened up the casting for it, at the when the final episode played, at the very end, if you watched it all the way through, it says, "Apply now." So they're definitely gonna be doing a season 2. I know that the applications have opened. I think they maybe mentioned that they'll start the process, maybe January, February, of really looking through applications to figuring out who, and I know season 2 is gonna be coming out next year. So if I had to assume what's gonna happen is season 2 is gonna come out of the series, and they'll be doing the casting process during that as the whole world's watching season 2, and
Mm.
then they'll begin the process. So, yeah, if there's a season 2, Donna, I'll go back and do it. So,
Well, I was
I
gonna
need
say, we
redemption.
wanna know. We wanna know if you're going back. We wanna
I
keep
would
up.
love to go back. I'd love to go back. So if all of a sudden you don't hear from me for a while, that hopefully that's a good thing, and that,
I'll
next year
know. I'll
sometime
know.
I'll be in the same green tracksuit, same number, doing it all again. That
Did
would
you
be
get well,
epic. So we
that's
shall
interesting.
see.
Did you get to keep your tracksuit and your number? Did you get to keep that?
No, I had to
No.
order I ordered one on Amazon, and it was actually great quality. It probably fit a little bit better than the one I had in the game, which is funny, but I ordered it on, Amazon. But I think, they gotta collect that stuff because, again, there's always a squeaky wheel. There's always someone who, might, like, wear it out in public to, like, try to, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
put themselves out there, like, "Why are you wearing that?" And like, "I'm so glad you asked," and then the conversation comes up. But they collected everything,
Mm.
rightfully so, but I definitely ordered it from Amazon just so I have it as a keepsake. So,
Wow. Hey, it's been great to catch up with you. Thanks so much for talking to us. You can follow your social media is open. People can follow, and you've got some great things
absolutely.
on there. You've been talking about the
Yeah.
games and all this stuff, so people want to figure that
Oh,
out. All right, we'll see
absolutely.
you
It's,
soon.
yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.